Welcome to Devotionary, where we make the Bible accessible and applicable. What should have been an exciting new day for Joshua was quickly turning into a day worth forgetting. He was about to take over for Moses and was going to have the distinct privilege of leading the nation of Israel in their conquest of the land of Canaan. But before he could take over the reins of leadership, Moses had a few last-minute words of warning for the people of Israel. He wasn't going to lead them into the land of promise, but that wasn't going to stop him from sharing some rather harsh news. And poor Joshua had to stand in the background, listening as Moses delivered a stinging indictment against the people he was about to lead. In Deuteronomy chapter 31, verses 23 through 29, we get a glimpse of Joshua's less-than-ideal day of commissioning. It wasn't pretty, and it probably wasn't very enjoyable for Israel's new leader. But the truth isn't always pleasant to hear. And the Lord commissioned Joshua the son of Nun and said, "Be strong and courageous, for you shall bring the people of Israel into the land that I swore to give them. I will be with you." When Moses had finished writing the words of this law in a book to the very end, Moses commanded the Levites who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, "Take this book of the law and put it by the side of the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there for a witness against you. For I know how rebellious and stubborn you are. Behold, even today, while I am yet alive with you, you have been rebellious against the Lord. How much more after my death? Assemble to me all the elders of your tribes and your officers, that I may speak these words in their ears, and call heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death you will surely act corruptly, and turn aside from the way that I have commanded you. And in the days to come evil will befall you, because you will do what is evil in the sight of the Lord, provoking him to anger through the work of your hands." Deuteronomy 31, verses 23 through 29. The commissioning of Joshua by God seems a bit anticlimactic, doesn't it? It takes just one verse to record the whole affair. There were no animals sacrificed, no anointing oil poured over the head of Joshua. A comparison between his commissioning and that of Aaron reveals some remarkable and glaring contrasts. "And Moses brought Aaron and his sons and washed them with water. And he put the coat on him, and tied the sash around his waist, and clothed him with the robe, and put the ephod on him, and tied the skillfully woven band of the ephod around him, binding it to him with the band. And he placed the breastpiece on him, and in the breastpiece he put the Urim and Thummim. And he set the turban on his head. And on the turban, in front, he set the golden plate, the holy crown, as the Lord commanded Moses." Leviticus 8, verses 6 through 9. "And he poured some of the anointing oil on Aaron's head, and anointed him to consecrate him. And Moses brought Aaron's sons, and clothed them with coats, and tied sashes around their waists, and bound caps on them, as the Lord commanded Moses." Leviticus 8, verses 12 through 13. Yet all Joshua got was a word of encouragement from the Lord. "Be strong and courageous, for you shall bring the people of Israel into the land that I swore to give them. I will be with you." Deuteronomy 31, verse 23. But even these words of encouragement and affirmation had to come across as a little underwhelming to Joshua. After all, he had just heard God say that the people of Israel would prove to be rebellious and unrepentant, earning them the full weight of the curses Moses had warned them about. So while God provided Joshua with the assurance that he would be successful in his new role as the leader of the people of Israel, it had to have been bittersweet news to his ears. Yes, Joshua would accomplish his God-given assignment and lead the people of Israel into the land of Canaan. But how could he forget the fact that they would not be allowed to stay there? The day would come when they would be destroyed by their enemies and taken as captives to foreign lands. And even after his rather abrupt and abbreviated commissioning, Joshua had to hear Moses repeat the warning God had delivered to them in the tent of meeting. "I know how rebellious and stubborn you are. Behold, even today, while I am yet alive with you, you have been rebellious against the Lord. How much more after my death?" Deuteronomy 31, verse 27. Put yourself in Joshua's sandals. He has just been commissioned the new leader of the people of Israel, and yet when he and Moses step out of the tent of meeting, he doesn't even get an introduction. There's no official announcement of the leadership transition from Moses to Joshua. It's almost as if Joshua simply stood in the background, eyes wide with shock and surprise. He had just seen the Shekinah glory of God, heard the voice of God, and was still digesting the devastating news from God that the nation of Israel would end up back in captivity one day. And just as he is about to take over the reins of leadership, he has to sit back and hear Moses accuse the people of being rebellious and stubborn. And Moses wasn't done. He had one more punch to the gut he wanted to deliver. I know that after my death you will surely act corruptly and turn aside from the way that I have commanded you. And in the days to come evil will befall you, because you will do what is evil in the sight of the Lord, provoking him to anger through the work of your hands. Deuteronomy 31, verse 29. I can't help but imagine how Joshua felt as all this transpired. Here he was getting ready to lead the people of Israel into the promised land. Not exactly an easy task. And Moses was busy stirring them up and offending them. On top of that, Joshua had just been informed that while the whole conquest of the land initiative would be a success, it would prove to be short-lived and irrelevant. This is probably not the way Joshua had envisioned his tenure as the shepherd of Israel beginning. This entire section of the book of Deuteronomy is weighted with a dark sense of foreboding. This should have been one of the most eagerly anticipated events in Israel's long and storied history, as they prepared to cross over the border and begin their conquest of the land promised to them by God centuries earlier. But rather than joy and celebration, this occasion was marked by sadness and disappointment. The party balloons had popped. The candles on the cake had blown out. And Moses told the people that the law itself would bear witness against them. He instructed the Levites to take this book of the law and put it by the side of the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there for a witness against you. Deuteronomy 31, verse 26. His handwritten copy of God's commandments would be a constant presence among the people, practically screaming out its judgments against them every time they violated its contents. Moses assembles all the elders and officers of the 12 tribes and calls heaven and earth to witness against them. But what does that mean? How do the heavens and the earth bear witness against the nation of Israel? Well, in the opening stanza of the song that God gave Moses, we read these words, "Give ears, O heavens, and I will speak, and let the earth hear the words of my mouth." Deuteronomy 32, verse 1. Moses was going to sing the words of God's song to the people, and the first words would be addressed to the heavens and the earth. It's as if God is saying, if you won't listen, creation will. The rest of the creative order will hear the commands of God and bear witness against the Israelites for their stubborn refusal to do as he has said. In a sense, Moses is saying that the heavens and earth will still remain, even after the Israelites are long gone. The sun, moon, and stars will still be in the sky long after Israel is exiled from the land of promise. They will look up from their new home in Babylon and see the same unchanging scene in the heavens, but they will be in captivity. The land of Canaan will remain right where it was when they left. Nothing will change about it except the identity of those who occupy it. The earth will keep spinning. The sun, moon, and stars will keep shining. Canaan will remain a land flowing with milk and honey, but the fate of the Israelites will be markedly different than it had been. In the days to come, evil will befall you, because you will do what is evil in the sight of the Lord. Deuteronomy 31, verse 29.